welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. Let's get into HEXplore It, the Valley of the Dead King. We're going to start off with the solo playthrough right now. So I'm just going to move to the preface where we're going to read a little bit about the backstory. The scourge of the valley for hundreds of years, the Dead King has quietly amassed power, unchallenged by the denizens of the valley, but he now moves into our cities, bent on changing the world as we know it. Instead of life, singing, and the joy of children laughing in our streets, our cities will be plagued by death. Some have tried defeating him, but none have yet succeeded. All who go up against him eventually fall to his power and join his ranks in the Bone Legion. I fear the population is close to deserting this valley, for the Bone Legion, led by the Dead King, now moves, seeking to destroy life wherever he can find it. Please help us. So our party of the Guardian and the Summoner will be starting in this middle city right here of 6 different cities. We rolled a hex die in the last solo setup video prior, which determined which city our party would start in. The Dead King, there are rumors in the land of the Dead King waiting to show up and start bringing down the different cities as different cities fall to the Bone Legion. Our mission is to stop him. Now, at the same time, we are currently in a city, so we're going to go ahead and resolve a bunch of city-type actions, which involve things like upgrading our skills, buying new equipment, all that type of stuff. But very first, before we go into that, I want to talk a little bit about the names of our heroes, because I got a bunch of suggestions back in prior videos where I asked you guys for your feedback on the names for each of our 2 characters, and by far and away I had one suggestion pop out and get the most likes. So I'm going to go ahead with that suggestion in terms of the names. The first name is for the Guardian and is Clarissa, and Clarissa is the Guardian. Angelborn is the race, and then over here we have the Summoner Tempest, and the Tempest is a shifter. So that is going to be our 2 characters. We're going to start it off here with our party in this city, and the first thing we're going to do is talk about the market and what our characters are going to buy with the 24 gold they have each. Now, just before we go there, I'm also going to note that our food rating is always starting off with whatever our food rating shows in this hex, which is 1 times 2. And you make that mark across this food track right here. So as you can see, I've marked a straight line across 1 and 2 over here because 2 times 1 is 2. And then over here on the Summoner, who has a food rating of 2, 2 times 2 is 4. Just before the market happens, we have the city effects here, and as the very top of this reference sheet, it says skip the circumstance. Of course, we'll be doing that because we're starting the game in a city, so we don't have to do a circumstance in here. The group may choose to pay 1 gold to heal. We don't need to do that. Heroes may purchase gear upgrades and items from the marketplace. We're going to do that in a second. And the group can turn in all completed turned over quests here as well. And currently, of course, we haven't completed anything because we've just started the game. Now, the really important thing here to note is the special item, which is available for a discount in each of the cities. We currently reside in Restwind Dale, which is in the very center of the map. So as you can see right here, Restwind Dale is the one with the hex symbol where we rolled earlier. This is the text, or the flavor text, along with the item that is there for cheaper. Every city has one. So Restwind Dale is governed by the humble magistrate Aremi, and the halflings are a simple folk who have a fierce love for a quiet life, a good tale, and delicious food. You may purchase luck stones for 1 gold here. So that's pretty cool. What are luck stones? Well, when we head to the market, which we'll be doing very shortly after we talk a little bit more about upgrading our characters, luck stones are right here, and I'm going to go through that description in a little bit. But first, before we do that, let's talk about upgrading our skills for the Guardian. Alright, the very first hero that I want to bump up in terms of skills is Clarissa, the Guardian. So what I want to do is I really want to focus on the first and second mastery that Clarissa has. As you can see here, these are descriptions for both of those 2, and you can go ahead, pause the screen, take a read through them. It also lets you know a little bit about each of them and how much, of course, the energy spent is going to be for the cost when using it, as well as some of the different skills that will need to be rolled when it's used. So again, you can read these to get a better understanding, but I'll show you how they work when we actually get into gameplay. But I want to make them stronger and a better chance of being successful at nailing them. So what I'm going to do is you start at the top of the hex when you want to upgrade a particular skill. So in this case, 4 gold if I want to bump up shield ally by 1. So I'm going to go ahead and spend 4 gold in order to bump this technically to a 3. But just before I change that, I'm actually going to go to the next level again. So this is going to cost me 9, and it's actually going to allow me to bump this individual up to a 4, which is quite good. It's going to allow me a much better chance of success for the shield ally. Now over here with the Reflected Assault, again a great ability. I want to bump this one up to a 5. I want an even higher chance of nailing this one for its good benefits. So I'm going to drop this, or bump this up, sorry, from a 3 to a 5, and it's going to cost me 4 and 5. So again, a total across the board here is going to be 18, because I spent 4, 5, 4, and 5. 9, 9 is 18. I have 24 gold, so I'm going to go ahead quickly and just do a quick erase, and we're going to drop this thing down to 6. So I'm getting a little bit poorer. Now, before I go any further here, there's a couple things that I want to purchase, and I want to make sure we purchase from the market, but we're not going to go to the market just yet. I'm going to end up going to the market with Clarissa with 6 gold, because now I think I've got enough stats here that I've got some gold left over to go to the market and buy a couple things, maybe some luck stones and some cool stuff like that. So let's come over here to the Summoner. The Summoner is going to be next, and in this particular situation, I want to really bump up both of these Summoning Circle and Invocation. I want both of those as well to be bumped up for this particular character, because I want to focus on their masteries becoming a lot more efficient. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually knock these guys up as well. I want Summoning Circle to get to 6, but that might be a bit aggressive. That might be really aggressive. So what I'm probably going to do is get this thing to about, and again, you guys can pause the screen if you want to see what these particular abilities do. But let's go ahead for now and play it safe and do what I did with Clarissa. So I'm going to bump the Summoning Circle up by 2, and that's going to allow us to get this thing up to a total of 4, which isn't bad. Gives us a better odds on that roll. And then down here, we're going to do the exact same thing and bump this thing up to a 5. And hopefully that's going to become useful for us as well. All right, that's not bad. I'm happy with that. So, of course, we're going to have to knock our gold down. So we're going to knock our gold down from down by 18, exactly the same as what we did with the other one, but different skills that they were applied to. So going in with 6 gold. So at this particular part or time, we should jump into the market. Welcome to the Restwindale Market. All right, so at the market, we have a number of different items we can purchase. We can pick up things like rations or potions, luck stones, handy elixirs, camping gear, exotic maps, climbing gear, folding boats, reliable mounts, all this good stuff. Now, there's a decent cost to all of these, and we focused, or at least I did anyway, on majorly bumping up our mastery skills, because I thought that was really going to come in handy when we go into some battles. So it's going to limit me in how much I can purchase here at the market, obviously, because both of our characters are going in with 6 gold each. We don't have to spend all of our money right now. We could hold on to it, but I'd really like to get some things that I think are going to be essential for a journey. So what I'm thinking really is useful here is the climbing gear, because it would be a 2 gold per hero cost, as you can see here for gold, and it says the group may now travel into mountain hexes. Without it, the group cannot travel into mountain hexes, and it's a permanent use, so you get it forever. So basically, mountain hexes, you can see over here, we've got a bunch of them in this area here to the northeast. We've got them, or sorry, to the southeast. Northeast, same thing, and then over here to the northwest, we have other mountains. And the most important piece is that this quest sits up here in the mountains. So in order to get to this quest and even try to attempt it, we need to have climbing gear, and that's one of the major reasons I want to pay for that now, so we have the ability to go there. Because it's very likely we'll go from here, where we currently stay in Restwindale, and we'll move over to this quest. Now, this quest right here is the survival quest, so we'll deal with this, and then maybe from there head up to the next quest. Of course, we'll have to watch out to see whether the Dead King actually makes an appearance in the land. If he does, we're going to have to try our best to try to reclaim cities he takes or that fall to him. But that's a whole other ball of wax. So right now in the market, what I'm going to focus on buying is going to be that climbing gear. So it says the group may now travel. So basically everyone has this permanent ability. The group does essentially have climbing gear. We have to pay 2 gold each. So we'll be reducing our gold levels from 6 to 4 for both of our characters. So I'm going to reduce this in a second here because I'm going to buy other stuff. All right, so after grabbing the climbing gear here, I've just gone ahead and written that down in both of my character sheets. However, I haven't reduced the gold, which should be down to 4 now at this particular point. I'll do that when I spend the rest, because I'm planning on blowing all of my money in this first round of the game. The very first thing I want to buy in addition, because I have 4 gold in each character left to spend, is I want to get some rations, because as you can see here, my food is not so great, and based on the cards that I'm seeing out here for quests, if you take a look, like this will give me a power-up card in gold. There's not many out here that are food-based, and because of that, I'm a little worried that if I go venturing out of the city without food, I could run into a situation where I get too far away from a city, or I get involved in some things and start running out of food and start starving, so that's not good. So how we can do this is go to the market, buy some rations. Every 1 gold you spend gives you 2 units of food, and 4 food can be sold back to the market for a gold if you want to, because you have too many later on. So in this case, I'm going to probably buy 6 units of food. That's going to cost me 3 gold. So let's bump our rations from 2 on this character up to 8. That's pretty solid. That should be a decent amount. The ink here on this pen is not moving. There we go. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing over here. So the summoner, it starts with 4, a little bit more, but remember, always consuming more with the 2. And we're going to bump this up by 6. So this is going to go from 4 all the way up to 10 in the most unstraight line you've ever seen as this thing moved when I did it. So we got 10. That's not bad. Now we each technically have 1 gold each, and I will update this in a second. So you know what? Let's go ahead and get that lucky stone, because we do have a discount on lucky stones, and it says use this stone to reroll any 1 die outside of combat or discard and redraw up to 3 circumstances or quests. Only 1 may be used per hero per turn. So what I could do is use a lucky stone to actually get rid of quests that I think in here are just not going to be useful for us right now, and that may help us get some quests in here that we can potentially go after. So I'm going to buy a lucky stone with my last one. And again, it says 2, but remember, as I talked about earlier, we are in, oh, this is the wrong side of the board. We are in a different reference sheet for that particular information. That would be this one right here, the cities one. We are in Restwind Dale, and it says you may purchase luck stones for 1 gold. So I'm going to have both of our characters buy one. So we'll just go over here and go luck stone. Now, technically, you might be saying, hey, why did you put the climbing gear in the backpack? It doesn't really belong in there, and that's very true. It doesn't. What I'm going to do is I'm going to end up erasing that now that we've noted it here, and I'm also going to erase the gold I've spent. So we're going to be reducing our gold. I won't even put a 0 here. I'll just leave it empty because, well, we spent everything we had. We're extremely greedy. At the same time, our battle mat has a really cool ability to track things that are used across the entire group, because they're called group purchases. So climbing gear is one of those things. So I'm just going to X that off right there. And what I'm going to do just between this and the next segment is I'm going to remove the climbing gear from that action or from that section of the backpack, because it's not technically carried in the individual heroes' backpacks. It's a group purchase, one of a few of them that we can get. So that's essentially it for the market, because we've spent all of our money. So we're going to move on to the next phase right now. So let's begin our official first game turn for HEXplore It, the Valley of the Dead King. Our party is currently in the city here in the center of the map, Restwind Dale, and we want to move out and venture forward. Now we got to choose where we go, and this is where things get interesting. Now I took a look at some of the quests that we have available to us, and they are the Aid quest, which is a mountain quest here where we have climbing gear now, and the survival one, if I'm not mistaken, yes, which is right here. Now the downside of the survival one, if you'll notice, there's a challenge section here that says, if you camp here next turn, you have found the megapede's larvae. Face the megapede here. If you succeed in defeating it, each hero gains +2 health, +2 energy on maximum and current. Sounds amazing, right? But then I took a quick look through the enemies and found out that the megapede is actually absolutely terrifying. It's humongous and it's nasty. It's a level 5 boss, crazy health and energy, almost way beyond what our characters could currently possibly handle. It wouldn't be a wise decision to go there. So in my mind, even though that seemed like a good idea, it's almost out of my reach right now. These are also out of my reach because they're all on tiles. They're on M, M, and K, which we haven't found yet. So the only one that's actually even potentially doable is the Aid one here, which is currently in the mountains. So we could go to that, but then that leaves 4 cards sitting in this area that are essentially kind of not really what we want. Having a bounty card here seems really good. The King's Lair sounds really good, but I don't know when those are going to show up is the hard thing. Now having a shrine's really cool. Should probably keep that for later, because if we want to go ahead and potentially be able to reclaim cities later on, keeping a shrine in our quest area is smart. What I can do is use one of my luck stones at any point in time, as long as we're not doing this during combat, on either of my characters to basically go ahead and redraw 3 quests. So I can totally get rid of 3 of the quests here. So I'm going to choose to get rid of the Kingslayer, the Bounty, and I'm going to keep that try one and get rid of the survival one. And we're going to redraw 3 quests to see what we get. So the first one is on D, so that's good because D is in play. This one is Invasion at High Grindish, if I'm saying that correctly. So this is one that'll give us, that's something doable. That could be doable, so that's good. The next one here is Explore on F. We don't have an F tile out, so that's one that we're going to have to try to find, but would give us some critical success, would give us some gold. So these are a little bit better, I think. And then Bounty, OC, that's good. So Bounty, although that's going to point us right in the direction of a boss, and that is right there. That's right south of us. So that's maybe, ooh, gold too. That's not bad. Okay, so let's go ahead and put our quest tokens out for each of these. So the invasion one here, it says 5. So that's this one right here. The other quest token for this one here is on F. We don't have it. C we do, and it's right here. So now we have, now I need to remove the quest token from the one that we took out, which is this one. So this has been removed now from the game, and that was the one I chucked away, which was, I forgot the name of it now. It slipped my mind. But anyway, it's no longer there. That's all that matters. So we're going to go ahead now with the first game turn phase, which is movement. So where do we want to move? We've got new quests out there, thanks to that luck stone doing its job. And I want to show you guys, before we move forward, that the luck stone is able to do what it did, because I don't want you guys to feel confused about that. The luck stone here says, use this stone to reroll any 1 die outside of combat, or discard and redraw up to 3 circumstances or quests. Only 1 may be used per hero per turn. So I did that for the quests. That's what these ones are down here. All right. So where do we go from here? Well, we got a number of choices. The boss is really tempting. Could go right down and go for the boss. If we do, we can get 5 gold, which would help us to buy some more stuff. That's not bad. Give us a power up. We could also head here, which would just give us a straight power up. Now this one is interesting because it says, select the first encounter you find in the open circumstance slots and place it on the top of this quest. So the first encounter would actually be bandits. So we'd be just facing off some bandits, which may not be bad because it gives us some gold as well. And what does it say here? If there isn't an encounter available, draw the deck until you find one. A horde of these opponents are invading the Dwarven Iron Citadel. Be careful, these opponents are dangerous. You may choose to fight more than 1 instance of the encounter in 1 battle. If you do, you'll receive a power-up card for each instance, so it's kind of like a huge invasion of battle. That's cool. If you defeat them, you'll also save the town and will also receive double the encounter reward. Ooh. Okay. Interesting. So, do we want to do that or go after the boss? We are at full health right now, but I'm scared that we're going to get beat up by the boss. Maybe we should go to this first. This seems like the most doable quest. So let's head this direction. So in this particular case, we want to choose how we want to move first. So how we want to move is we can camp, which does nothing for us. We can, right now anyway, we can move cautiously, which allows us to move along a road path to get there closer. And we can potentially discard the circumstance we roll this turn. So that's really good. And you can see there's a nice road, or maybe that's a stream. Can we travel along streams if we do that? Or let me see here. Oh, yeah, rivers. So rivers count as cautious, and we can go up to 4 movements. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can get all the way down. We're just going to follow the river all the way down to here and stop. So we moved cautiously. And like I said, we're only going to have to, when we move cautiously, roll our Explore and Survival dice. We do not have to roll our Navigate die. Now, the cool thing when you move cautiously, the Navigate die, if you fail that check, if we had to roll it, would be the one that would cause us to wander. But when you move cautiously, you don't have to deal with that. It's only when you're moving normally or recklessly that you roll this die to see whether or not you're potentially, or sorry, not roll die, but if you fail your navigate checks, then you would go ahead and wander. We'll see that later on when I move normal or reckless. For right now, I've moved cautiously. We move cautiously, so let's roll our dice. We're going to roll a blue and a yellow for both of our characters. So Clarissa, the Guardian, has rolled a hex and a 5. That's pretty good. That means she's going to find some treasure. That's awesome. Over here to the Summoner, we're going to grab the blue and yellow, and we're going to roll, hoping for good things. Ooh, not so much. 7 and a 9, so those are a little high. Okay, so let's resolve these one at a time. So the very first one's going to be Explore. So this rolling here, I got a hex. Now, if you roll a hex on an Explore skill check during the skill phase, which is what we're doing right now, you find an excellent place to camp, and each hero regains 1 lost health. Tragically, that's not going to help us, so that's too bad. Now, When you roll success on your explore die, you gain 2 treasure. So we actually just found gold here. That's awesome. So we found 2 gold. So Clarissa found some gold, which is fantastic because it's going to be good for, well, anything, really. I would like to be going after some camping gear maybe in the future would be good, so we could save up towards that. And then the blue one here, which, and again, I'm checking these all based off these. So if you saw me in the solo setup and rules, I just explained this. This game's all about getting equal to or lower than these skills. So my yellow die, the hex is a 1, so bam, I succeeded at that, which is crazy, because I, it was really, that's the only way I could have succeeded at it, and I did. The blue one I failed because I was above it. I need to be 2-1 or hex in order to succeed. So because I failed this one, it's a survival roll. I have to consume food equal to my food rating, which is 1. So that's going to knock my food from an 8 down to a 7. So I'm just going to knock my rating down here. Try to wash that away. So you can see on the rating chart there, it's got numbers all the way up, and I've got it to 7 now. Okay, so that's that. Next up, let's go ahead and do the opposite side. So I guess the summoner in this case. So the summoner actually failed both checks. So when you go ahead and you fail a gold check, you just basically find dirt. You find nothing. But on this one here, again, I have to consume food, and the food consumption for the summoner is 2. So it's going to be a little bit heftier, and she's at 10. So we're going to move down to 8. So both of our heroes here have knocked their health down to, or not their health, but their food ratings down quite a bit. And from this point, we are now going to move into the circumstance phase. Now, in the circumstance phase is very interesting. Because we move cautiously, we may discard the card that we potentially roll here. So it says that in addition, when you move cautiously, you may discard the circumstance you roll this turn. So we're going to go ahead and roll to figure out which circumstance from the top up here we're going to be running into. I got a 3, so it's going to be the Shady Informant. So we can read this and decide whether or not we want to discard it. So this one says, you've crossed paths with an informant who has connections in the black market. He's given you some tips on just where they might be operating. When rolling to open the black market, treat the number of bosses you've defeated as 2 higher. After the black market opens, each hero may apply a 2 gold discount to their next purchase there. So this Shady Informant card here is a really good card that's going to be really useful for when the black market finally emerges. Now, as of right now, the black market is not currently part of the board and won't be until we actually defeat the first boss. And when we do so, the cool thing is you can see in the last 2 paragraphs here, it says when rolling to open the black market. So in other words, this doesn't trigger right away and you don't just find the black market from this card. It says when rolling to open the black market, which is basically after you've defeated a boss, treat the number of bosses you've defeated as 2 higher. So when we defeat our first boss, there's a mechanic which you'll find in the rules overview of a chance that the black market may reveal itself on the map. And of course, when you beat your first boss, there's only a 1 on that. Whereas in this particular case, the Shady Informant is going to increase our chances by 2. So basically it'll be 3, 2, or 1, and the black market will unveil itself in the land and then start to wander around along with the dead king when it eventually shows up. It also says here we'll get a discount on the first or next purchase there. So that's pretty cool. But again, it's not going to affect anything right now, so I'm just going to take this event card, put off to the side, because it'll come into play later on. And now we've dealt with that circumstance. Now we're also going to have to go ahead and replenish the circumstance deck up here. So we found a Phase Beast, which is now sitting in slot number 3. And this now concludes that particular phase. With the circumstance phase all wrapped up, we're going to go ahead now to the event phase, which we completely skipped because we never landed on anything that is a city, a shrine, a boss, a rune, or a quest. So we basically skip right past the event phase and we move into the Dead King phase. During the Dead King phase, we're rolling to see whether the Dead King will reveal himself in the land. So we take 1 hex die, we're rolling it, and if we get a hex on this first one, the Dead King is coming out right away. We got a 1. Wow, was that ever close? Okay, so we're okay. So the king or the dead king will not reveal himself on this particular game turn. Let's begin round number 2. So very first, we're going to start with movement in terms of what we're going to do next. And we honestly only need to move 1 space to get to this quest, so we can move cautiously. When you move cautiously, as we did before, you can move up to your normal movement. So in this case, for us, it's 4 along a river or a road, or you can just move 1 hex. And so that's what I'm choosing to do this time, which is basically at this point now you've seen cautiously used, or cautious movement used in both of the different ways it can be used. The only other way would be on a road. So we moved 1, we moved cautiously, and when you move cautiously, you only roll your blue and yellow, which is your survival and explore. You do not have to worry about wandering or the navigate die. So we're going to again roll these 2 to see whether or not we found any gold, as well as whether we found any food along our journey. Oh, looks like we got another positive hex here. Holy. So our guardian here, Clarissa, is definitely really good at finding gold. That's fantastic. So in this particular case, because we found that during the explore roll here, or the explore die, we found that we're going to get 2 gold. Now, we would get this normally, but like the chances of landing that twice, I don't know what that is, but it certainly isn't all that high. So now we're going up to 4 gold here. Sad thing is we did fail our food check there. So our food check was quite a fail in terms of the survival check. So we were underneath 2. So it's going to cost us our food rating in food in order to continue on this journey. So we're going to be going from 7 down to 6. There we go. And then we're going to do the exact same thing over here with Tempest, the summoner. So we're going to take the yellow and blue die, roll, and hope for the best. Hey, we got a hex on that one. That's fantastic. So we didn't end up finding any gold whatsoever, which is kind of it doesn't seem like the summoner is all that great for finding gold. I guess thematically kind of makes sense. We got some money with the Guardian. The Guardian's more attuned to finding treasure. All right, so rolling a hex on the survival actually would be no loss of food whatsoever for this particular hero. So this hero doesn't have to lose, in other words, found the food necessary to continue her travels and not have to worry about consuming any food, which is awesome. The other benefit we would have gotten if we could have actually used it, because we nailed the hex, is that we essentially would have actually recovered or regained 1 lost energy if we had have actually lost any energy to this point, which we haven't, and we could have also ended any ongoing afflictions that affected the group. So that's where a blue hex is really nice. So now at this point we've resolved all of that, and we can move on to the next phase. The next phase is the circumstance phase. We're going to go ahead and roll a hex die to figure out what circumstance we'll be taking. Now remember, because we move cautiously, we have a choice to discard it if we don't like it. I landed a 4, and that's going to be, of all these, it's the, let's see, it's this one right here. Oh, look at that. And it even says 4 right in the title. The 4 giantesses of the Palanquin Man. You've unearthed what appears to be a mysterious relic. A small figurine of 4 female giants carrying a shrouded palanquin. This image has been found in many ruined places around the world, and yet not even the wisest sages can pinpoint its origin. When held in the palm of one's hand, one is granted limited foreknowledge of your enemy's intentions. Roll the opponent die during the declaration phase of combat to foretell your opponent how your opponent will act. In doing so, one of the 4 giants is reduced to dust. This item can be used up to 4 times. Wow. So we just gained a treasure card. That's really cool. So we found a treasure. That's fantastic. I'm definitely not discarding this. So we got this now as a treasure. That's awesome. And again, what this is really going to do is during the declaration phase, really what it is in combat is you deciding which of your abilities you're going to use during combat. So, inflict damage, defend yourself, to use a first mastery. What this is going to allow me to do 4 times is at 4 different spots. It's going to allow me to essentially roll the opponent die first to figure out what the opponent will do prior to me having to select my ability in the declaration phase, and that's fantastic. So we'll keep that off to the side as well as a treasure, so we're going to put that up here for now. Just remember that we do have it. And that is going to end off the circumstances, so we'll move to the event phase. Now the event phase is us on this quest, and this quest is this quest right here, which is called Invasion. So let's take a quick look at this again. It says select the first encounter you find in the open circumstance slots and place it on the top of this quest. So let's do that. We're going to go up here to the circumstances, and of course we want to refill from the previous one we just got. We found ourselves another treasure, which is going to be fantastic for later on if we happen to land it. We got bandits. So bandits are in the first slot, which is on the far right, number 1. So bandits are basically trying to invade this dwarven iron citadel. There's a gigantic attack happening. Now, we have to be careful because these opponents are dangerous, which means essentially that on the battle mat now, these enemies are considered to be bumped up in game difficulty to easy. So we're on starter, but when you're labeled as dangerous as an enemy, you go to the next level. And in this case, it's going to give them 5 vitals in terms of 5 extra vitals per hero and damage dealt. So that's pretty nasty. That's going to really increase them up. It says right here, you may choose to fight more than one instance of them. And if you do, you'll receive a power-up card for each instance. If you defeat them, you'll save the town and also receive double the encounter reward. So that's really cool. And the encounter reward is up here. So you'd actually be doubling that particular reward. That's fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and resolve this particular quest right now. All right, so let's begin the battle. So here on the battle mat, we've already put the total numbers of energy as well as health for the bandits that we're going to be going up against. You might notice here that I've got an 8 and an 8. You might be wondering, why are there 18 and 18 up here? Well, what happens with this particular one is we are on easy, so the vitals of each of these, or this particular creature is going to increase by 5 per hero, and they're going to deal an extra damage. So I just put damage here just to remind myself. I didn't really need to put it twice. I could really just do it once because at the end of the day, it's only going to do +1 damage. It makes it look like it's +2 damage. But when it makes attacks against whichever individual it's either targeting or the group, it'll be +1 damage. This is tracking really the enemy is what I'm doing here. And I've gone 8. Got this from the 8 right here because they're bandits. 5 is because I have 1 hero, and the other 5 is for the other hero in order to get up to the easy difficulty, making it 18 health and 18 energy. So that's what we're dealing with. We need to get this thing down to win. And of course, thematically, we're talking about an invasion. These bandits are going after a dwarven iron citadel. There's definitely layers of these bandits going after this thing, so we can choose to fight waves of it if we want to increase our prize, as we mentioned earlier. But I'm just going to choose to fight 1 because I don't know if we're strong enough to go past 18 yet. I kind of want to get a feel for things before I risk going any further. Although it does say you can choose to fight more than 1 instance of the encounter in 1 battle. So we can choose if we're doing really well to continue on. We'll see how things go though. So, and of course, there'll be additional rewards. You receive power-up cards for each instance that you basically continue to fight through. And then if we happen to actually defeat at least 1 of these waves of enemies, we're going to gain this group reward here, but it's going to be double. And you can see right here it says double the encounter reward. That would be this. So it would be 8 gold and 2 food. So I'm going to go for it to try to at least get 1 wave dealt with to give us that group award, and then at least a power-up card, and that'll be happy. If we're doing extremely well, we'll try to go and get a second power-up card on top of it. But of course, that'll be a lot tougher. So the first thing I want to look at is what are we going to do is in the declaration phase to find out what essentially we're going to use in terms of our abilities. So we've got a number of things. We've got the Guardian over here, and a number of abilities. The one I'm really focusing on for the Guardian is it wouldn't be a bad idea to, let's see here. So if I could do a defend ability here. This one's shielded ally. The Guardian chooses an attack that damages an ally this round. Damage is defended by half the shield ally rank. Now this is the coolest thing I want to show you guys here, and I didn't show you this during the setup, but it gives you the ability to track your actual abilities which have kind of a watermark behind them. So the cleave has swords, there's a shield behind the 3, there's a bolt behind the 4, and there is a kind of almost it looks like a ninja star, but not really, like a wavy kind of circular motion here underneath the blue one. And they correlate to these shadow marks. So you can actually go in and fill these in, and they help you understand your masteries better. So for instance, for shielded ally, if you want to talk about how much shielding you're going to get, you're going to look at your bolt. So mine's 4. So it's 4 divided by 2. That's 2. And it even specifies right in there, you're dividing it by half. So it just gives you a nice breakdown of things. For now, Reflected Assault, I have a 3, so it'd be 3 divided by 2. This one would be 4 divided by 2. Down here, it would be a 2, plus this is the crazy circular thing I was telling you about. That's a 5, so that would be a 7 on that particular one. So Reflected Assault looks pretty deadly. It says the Guardian reflects damage she or an ally has suffered this round. The damage is defended by the Reflected Assault rank plus Defend rank. Total damage is reflected back against the attacker. This damage is piercing if you choose to reflect damage an ally has suffered. So that sounds really good. I'm almost really tempted to do it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose to do Reflected Assault on this one. But first what I'm going to do before I do it, because I don't want to waste my energy on something I'm not sure of, I'm going to actually potentially use my treasure card here to determine what they're going to do first. So in this declaration phase, I'm going to actually use one of my 4, because I'm only allowed to use, and what I'm going to use a hex die to determine how many of these I have. So we've got 4 right now, and I'm going to use 1, so I'm going to knock it down to 3, and this is going to allow me to roll the die in advance for the enemy that we're fighting to find out exactly what this group of bandits is going to do. That's awesome. So we're going to take this die here, we're going to roll it, and this will give us a heads up on what type of an attack is going to happen, and maybe help us plan our abilities, or in terms of what we want to do for each of our heroes as well. So I'm going to roll this. I got a 3. So a 3 is a group health. So this is going to be everybody. It's going to affect health. It's going to be a 2-hit. It says any hero who suffers damage may not use energy next round. Wow. So that's a pretty big deal. So what we're going to want to do is, now knowing this information, because we used one of our giantesses of the Pelican Man treasures, we want to... if we can't use energy next round, and we know we're getting hit for 2 each, then it might make perfect sense at this point to use energy this round. Well, we can. So how about we go ahead and we do what we were thinking, knowing that we're being hit now for damage. I'm going to use Reflected Assault, because I'm going to reflect the damage back at this guy. So we're going to use the 2 energy Reflected Assault. So I'm going to choose this one here. I'll just place a die here to denote that. And then over here for the Summoner, in terms of what the Summoner can do, it's very different, very cool. So right here, it has a summoning circle. This mastery right here says summon an open encounter. Start, and you might be wondering what that means. So how the Summoner works essentially is you can summon a circumstance area card, or an encounter from the circumstance area, as your creature. So the crazy thing about this is that you have to have one in your circumstance area first. So I have actually a phase beast up here. So what I could do is I could actually use 1 energy to use the summoning circle to summon that phase beast, and it would be under my control. And then I could use that summoning beast to then make attacks on the bandits. Now, if there are no actual encounters up here that can be used as a summon, you can't do it. So it's really cool because you have to keep your eyes out, and you also might want to use something like a Lucky Stone, because Lucky Stones are really good at clearing out junk from the circumstance area as well as the quest area, as I've already done with quests, in order to get a better strategy going in terms of maybe lining yourself up with a number of different things. Especially being the summoner, I want to have things that I can summon during battles. So anyway, moving on here, basically how this works is I would choose to use this, and I'd want to use this now and get this creature summoned before we know the bandits are going to stop us next time around. So the summoning circle says, summon an open encounter, so I'd be going after the phase beast. Starting this round and continuing for a number of rounds equal to half the summoning circle rank, the encounter attacks your opponent. So half the summoning circle rank, and continues from a number of rounds from then. So how it actually does that easily, it shows you right here 1+, because it's going to count for the round we're on. There's a bolt here. The bolt correlates to right there. There's a watermark of a bolt behind that. So it's a 4. And this is doing the math for you. So it's kind of like a quick way to look and read this and then do the actual math. So it's saying 4 divided by 2 is 2 plus 1 is 3. So that means this summoning duration for how long this actual summon that I'm going to go ahead and summon is going to last is 3 full rounds. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a 3 marker right on top. So I'll just go like this, because this is basically how many rounds this creature is going to be fighting for me, which is fantastic. Now it says when you actually go ahead and summon this thing, let's see if I actually get it right away. So starting this round and continuing for a number of rounds, yeah, so I get it this round. Roll the action die to determine its action. So right now I'm going to choose to summon because we're going to go first here. So I'm going to be summoning the Phase Beast. So what I got here is this Phase Beast health of 8. So what I want to do is I'll put that right up here, and in order to track it, there's a summoned health stat right here. So the summoned health stat is basically grabbed from whichever card you chose to summon. So in this case, it's got 8 health, and there you go. Now we're going to be rolling a hex die on this little chart here to determine how this Phase Beast is going to act. This is where it gets fun, because this is what's going to be coming at the monster. So, or not the monster, but the bandits. So here we go. We're going to roll this die and see what's going to happen. We got a 4. Okay, so a 4 on this particular card lands right in the middle here. It says triple target energy. Now we can ignore that because we've summoned this creature, so it's only targeting one thing. It says that the same target may be hit multiple times. Targets who suffer this damage may not use energy next round. Cool. So what that essentially does is it means that the bandits happen to roll their middle attack, which requires an energy next turn. They don't get to do this, which is fantastic. So the other thing it's going to do is it's going to zap their energy for 4, which is really, really good. So that's a decent attack. So right now, technically, if we've gone ahead with the summon here and done what we've done, we've summoned the Phase Beast, we've gone ahead and rolled a 4. It's going to be a 4 energy depletion off of our bandits here. So that's going to drop this down to a 14. So that's good. We're dropping the energy down low. And there we go. It's down to 14, so making them a little weaker. I want to take a quick step back and just kind of talk about what we're doing here. Now, the one thing that's really cool about this ability here that this treasure card allowed me to do with one of its uses is to roll the die in advance of picking our actions, or at least finalizing our actions, because normally a combat round, you declare your hero actions, then you roll to determine what the enemy is going to do to you, and then you resolve. And then you continue through the combat as you need to over and over again. In this particular case, I kind of declared in advance, but then used one piece of the 4 different uses from my treasure up here from it's called the 4 Giantesses of the Palanquin Man, and allowed me to roll this die before I actually make a final decision on my declaration of chosen actions. So we've done that. We already know the bandits are going to do the top section of this one, so that's the reason why I'm mentioning this is not a normal round of combat, because I'm finding out in advance what these guys are going to do, and that's not the norm. It's really cool for me because I can strategically pick my actions, and I've chosen the summoning circle, as we already know, which I've got that Phase Beast there. We've got a health of 8 and stuff like this. Now, we've already technically done an attack against the enemy that is called the bandits, and we knocked the energy down from 18 down to 14, but I also want to note that that is a mistake. So first off, anything that's sitting in these black areas here is considered damage. You don't look at the emblem above it. The emblem above it's just for other use to know whether it's the words that they're talking about is the effect is related to energy, or if it costs energy, or if there's some combat, or it's a special ability. So actually it shouldn't have come from his energy, that 4 that got knocked off. It actually should have come from the damage side of the equation. So I'm going to go ahead and replace this. We're going to flip this around, and we're going to change this out to be 14 on the health side of things. There we go. Now we're all squared away correctly. Now I've gone ahead and I've resolved the summoner's attack just a little bit early, because normally what would happen is you would declare all of your attacks, and then the opponent would go and do their attack. Now we know that this bandit's going to go ahead and attack, so let's resolve the bandit's attack right now, because in this particular example it doesn't matter. It's confusing as it is. I promise you I'll sort this out as we go through. So we got the bandits here. We knew they were going to do a group attack. It's for 2 damage, and we can't use any energy next round. That means everyone gets hit. The Phase Beast, my summoner, as well as my guardian, everyone's getting knocked down by 2. Now, the Guardian has a reflected assault ability that's now going to trigger, and that's the reason why I delayed talking about this. We're going to talk about that right now. So first, for the Summoner, I have to take this damage, so I should be down to 5 here for the Summon, and then, of course, the Summoner, and the Summon itself should be down to 6. And the reason, again, I'm hitting everybody is because that particular damage actually stated that it was group health, so it was everybody being hit. Now, if I come over here to the Guardian, because that's the last one to resolve in this particular combat round, I use Reflected Assault. Now, we're going to have to read this to be sure we get this correct. But it says the Guardian reflects the damage she or an ally has suffered, so she's going to choose herself. this round, the damage is defended by the reflected assault rank plus defend rank. So in other words, I have a total of 7, which is way more than enough to defend against the 2 that is being thrown at me by the bandits. Now, remember, we also have to remember it's a +1 damage. So that's something that I'm just realizing now is going to affect everybody else. So technically, I need to knock my summon down to 5, and I also need to knock my summoner down to 4. So it's actually a little worse off than I thought it was because of the fact that we are in the higher level or easy level of difficulty, which I guess is not easy. So there we go. I caught myself on that. So if I come over here, it should have been 3 damage because it would be 2 right there, plus the 1 that this gave. This is where the +1 I'm getting from is. And then but it's all reflected and blocked because I'm using a total of 7 to do that. And then the total damage is reflected back against the attacker. So it's coming right back against this guy, which is great. So the Guardian, she's doing a fantastic job. The damage is piercing, but this is okay because it's regardless, it's going to hit the total anyway. If you chose to reflect damage an ally has suffered, you take any remaining damage they was suffered at rank 5. Now I am at rank 5, so this does matter. At rank 5, the target of this mastery gains a +3 boost to their next action rank. That's pretty cool. If the Guardian fails to block any damage, her next cleave deals twice the damage. Very cool. So let's go ahead and we'll talk about the boost in a second. First off, I'm just going to resolve the fact we hit this guy back for 3. So it's going to knock the bandits down to 11, which is awesome. So we actually made quite some progress on that attack. My dry erase marker is not liking me right now. Okay, so there we go. And that essentially was 1 full round of combat. So we're going to be rolling right back into a second round starting right now. Before we move into round 2, I want to talk about 2 things here with Reflected Assault that I thought were important to mention. You'll notice on the 4th line down it says this damage is piercing. So that damage basically can't be blocked is what that's referring to. And that's reflected back. So the 2 damage that the bandits sent at the Guardian was then reflected back using Reflected Assault because it fell underneath of the 7 that I could potentially block using that ability. It got fired back here at the bandits, and I already adjusted this from 13 down to 11, and it couldn't have been blocked. So this technically could have been written down in this area here, the damage dealt that cannot be blocked, defended, reflected, or negated. It could have been written down here, but I altered the total, and you can play with this area as you want, but just wanted to make note of that. Also, there's a separate section here that says, if you choose to reflect damage an ally has suffered, so in other words, I want to protect maybe the Tempest from being hit next time, for instance. At rank 5, the target of this mastery gains and the target of this mastery means would be my ally, would gain a +3 boost to their next action rank, which means one of their abilities would get a +3 boost, which is huge depending on what they're trying to do. If the Guardian fails to block any damage, then the cleave ability for the Guardian becomes even stronger and goes up by twice the damage, should become 4 if I happen to use this ability when no damage is being dealt to the Guardian. So that just helps you understand kind of the different ways that things could have panned out. So now we're going into a new combat round. So again, we have to declare our actions as to what we want to do. But there's a couple things we have to remember. First off, my Phase Beast here actually said when it made its attack against the bandits that energy could not be used. So we do have to write here, I'll just write no E, basically reminding myself that the bandits, if this ink on this one is going right out the window, there we go. So no E can be used on this round. So if this bandit happens to roll this one here, which needs this energy, it's not going to happen. So we'll have a free round and we'll be okay. But we don't know that yet. Unless we use the treasure, we won't know that. We still have 3 uses on that. The other thing I want to do is I want to knock down the summoner's duration because we only have 2 more rounds, including this one, to use the Phase Beast in this attack before it just disappears or it's killed off, which its health is at 5. We have to decide what we want to do, but we also have to remember that the bandits themselves basically stopped us from using any energy this round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift my thoughts to doing a Phantom Strike now to get some damage. Now what I'm also going to do is I'm noticing that the health on the summoner is only 4, which is quite low. I'm thinking the Guardian actually, it's kind of tough now because I can't do, well, I can't do any energy stuff, so I could defend or I could cleave. It's very dangerous right now, so I could I think cleaving might be a good idea. Maybe just getting 4 attack on this particular one for this time might not be bad. And the phase beast cannot actually help us as well. So let's just do a cleave, a clean cleave. So that's what we're going to declare to do in terms of our attacks. Now we're also going to have to roll, and I'm going to roll for the summon here because it says right here, starting this round and continuing for a number of rounds equal to half summons or equaling to the duration, which we've already figured out. The encounter attacks your opponent, roll the action I determine its action, and stuff like this. So, and of course it says here, if I choose to use this mastery, which would be the summoning circle again in future rounds, the encounter automatically becomes a single target for the round, and the summoner may also use Phantom Strike. So there's other ways that you can use this summon, but right now I'm just going to roll to find out what the phase beast is going to do, because this is my way of declaring the actions for that particular phase beast. I got the Hex. The Hex is single target energy. It's a 2 damage attack, so it's not bad. It says draw a circumstance card. If it is an encounter, it enters combat as another opponent. Interesting. So I don't know how that's going to actually work in terms of the ability, and it also makes me wonder whether or not the damage is the only thing that matters. Now it does say here to roll the action I determine its action. I got a funny feeling, and I may have to check this after the first playthrough, that maybe when you're using a summons, you're only using it for its health and its damage, and you don't use it for its abilities. I'll double check that, because maybe that would actually affect things, because it doesn't really make sense. It makes sense it would make do 2 damage, but it wouldn't make sense that it would bring another opponent into play. That would basically be it just wording wise, it doesn't make sense that way. So I think I might have gummed that up, but I'll double check that. So in this particular case, we know 2 damage is coming from the phase beast. When we resolve things, we know that we'll get 2 from the summoner, and we'll get 2 from the guardian. So that's 6. It's almost a little over half its health, so it's not bad. But first, we now need to go ahead and roll to find out how the bandits are going to act. So here we go. Bandits are going up, and we got a Hex. So a Hex is nasty. Okay, so a Hex is going to be the special ability for the bandits. It's 4 damage. It's group energy. So that's not good. Heroes who run out also lose 1 gold. Oh, that's not going to be fun. So let's resolve that right now. Before we go ahead and total up the damage and resolve everything for the second round of combat, I want to step back a second here and correct something that I made a mistake on. Now, that was when I talked about the symbolism here on the phase beast, which I summoned. I said back there that the regardless, every single time, like the 3, for instance, if it rolled that, although it rolled the 4 in my case, we landed in this middle section here. I said that basically anything in these dark sections was damage, in other words, health damage at all times. That's not true. What I meant to say was that certain ones will specify if it's health, it'll say how many targets it's affecting, that type of thing. And I totally missed the fact this one was a triple target energy, so it was not 4 damage for health. So I have to come back here to the battle mat and adjust this back. So it's actually going to be 4 health back for the bandits, sadly. So it's going to go back to 15. But what's really crazy about this catch is I'm greatly going to be reducing the energy, because as you can see here, when I rolled this in the first phase, it said the same target may be hit multiple times. It is a triple target energy attack. Targets who suffer this damage may not use energy next round. So we're already doing that. That's fine. But it's going to be 4 times 3. It's going to be 12 energy zapped away from the bandits, which is going to knock them down to 6, which is crazy. What's really good about that is it's getting the bandits closer and closer to essentially not being able to use this middle ability, which requires an energy. I mean, that's good, I guess. It's not as good as having the damage on it. So at this particular point, we're going to go ahead and sum up all the damage that we did for the second round. So we know in terms of what this particular enemy is doing. It says here that it's a group energy attack. Heroes who run out also lose 1 gold. So it's going to be 4 off of every single hero. That's pretty nasty. So energy-wise, that would zap the Guardian down to... And actually, I didn't reduce the energy levels for the first time I used the Reflect Assault ability. I'm just remembering this now. So that should be at 6, and then this reducing of 4 would be down to 2. Oh my goodness. So I'm down to 2, which isn't the greatest. And then coming over here to the Summoner again, I didn't also, the first time we used Summoning Circle, I didn't pay the 1 energy for that. So I should be at 6, and then I'm zapped for 4. So now I'm down to 2 as well for the Summoner. That's pretty low. Actually, that's even lower. or not as low, sorry, that's actually a little higher than the... No, they're both at 2. Never mind. Looked like a 1 for a second. So we got 2 2s there. That's bad. So I hit, and then it says here, if I had ran out of energies, I'd lose gold, but that didn't happen, so we're okay. Now we're going to go ahead and resolve all the damage. Now, we know it was 2 damage up here from this, and it says here, 2 damage, and then I got 2 damage from my summoner for a phantom strike, and then a 2 damage from my guardian for a cleave, so that's 6 damage total. So we're gonna go ahead and scratch this out, knock it down to 9. Pretty nasty. On top of this nasty one, we also have the +1 damage, so it's going to actually drop us from 2 down to 1 for our energy, which is really, really bad in terms of how much energy we have to spend. So that's nasty. We're going to come over here and do the exact same thing for the summoner. The summoner's dropped down to, and this is because, again, the fact that this particular one had us bumped to easy, which is a little bit more aggressive than normal. So now we're up to, I only have 1 energy. So things are getting a little dire here, and now we're going to go ahead and try to jump into the 3rd round of combat to see if we can survive. We have got it down to 9, which is not as low as we'd like. Of course, the summoner now has, or the summoning circle, and has triggered the phase beast twice. We've used the phase beast duration twice, so we got it down to 1. So only 1 more round we can use it before it disappears. We are able now to use energy, and the same over here. We the actual enemy itself can now use energy again as well. So everything's evened up. So we're gonna go ahead and declare our attacks now. So this is where things get interesting. So I have this invocation here. It says invocation may only be used when the summoner has an active ongoing summon. I do, thankfully, for 1 more round. It heals health damage to an opponent equal to Phantom Strike rank plus invocation rank plus twice the level of her current summon. At rank 5, which I currently am, the summoner may choose which action her summon makes this round. Oh wow, that's really good. That's fantastic. Okay, so I think I know what I'm doing. The only downs, and it only costs 1 energy, and I have 1 energy, so I could potentially do this, and it might be worthwhile to do it. So I'm probably going to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and choose to use invocation. So let's just do the filling in of this stuff here. So first thing is the combat. So it's a 2 plus a 5. And this says plus ×2 level of current summon. So it would be 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I just want to read this again so I understand it. It says invocation may only be used when the summoner has an active ongoing summon, which I do. It's going to deal health damage to an opponent. That's what I was missing. I was just thinking that I was going to heal health damage to an opponent equal to Phantom Strike, which is 2, plus invocation, which is 5. So that's, and then rank plus twice the level of her current summon, so 2. So this is really going to end up being plus ×2 level of current. Oh wow! So it's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 damage. That's enough to kill it. That's crazy. Okay, so 9 damage is gonna be enough to kill it. So that's definitely what I'm doing on my turn. It'll cost me 1 energy, and when I do it, I will reduce that. So that's what I'm choosing to do with the summoner, which is more than enough to kill it. Now the thing with the Guardian is I want to defend or survive. I also want to help protect. Now I only have 1 here. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably shield my ally because I have lots of health. I have 8 health, but my summoner only has 4. Don't want it to get hit. So I'm going to use shield ally. And it says here, the Guardian chooses an attack that damages an ally this round. The damage is defended by half the ally rank, so it's going to be 2, basically in the end. 4 divided by 2 is 2. This ability may be used once per round. Per half defend rank. Each use requires an energy at rank 4, which I currently am at rank 4. The Guardian may use this mastery outside of combat to shield her allies from damage by spending 1 energy. So multiple people, basically. So I'm going to choose to do that because I want to shield and keep people alive. That's going to use up my last energy. So here we go. So we've got those 2 things chosen, and now we're going to go ahead and try to see what ends up happening with the actual bandits, which I'm a little worried about. So here we go. We're going to roll this die and find out what's going to happen. Oh, actually, sorry. And technically, I guess my summon would also go on top of this. So let's find out what my summon will do. It's the exact same thing as before. So that's what we know there. And then the bandits are going to They rolled a 3, so group health hit. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and resolve this. So let's resolve the this one right here first in a normal combat round. So we're going to go ahead and do group health. Any hero who suffers damage may not use energy next round. That's fine. So 2 damage each. So that's going to hit my summon, which is going to knock it down to a 3. But it doesn't really matter because it's going to disappear off the map very soon anyway. And then, sorry about that, guys. It looks like an absolute mess. Looks like 23, but I'm going to have to switch up my pen. I think this one's dying. So we got a 3 there, but it'll disappear anyway. I lose 2 health off of the summoner, so I'll put a 2 here and kind of mess that one up. And then coming over here to the Guardian, it technically would be 2, but the Guardian is going to suck it up and take this damage, whereas that 2 I just put on the summoner is going to be blocked because I'm choosing to shield the ally, and I can shield it for the 2. So technically over here, this never happened. It only ends, it stays at 4, which keeps my heroes at 6 and 4, which is not bad at all. There we go. Everyone's still alive. Whew, okay. And then is there anything else we're missing here? Oh, technically I just remembered the +1 damage. So I guess in essence we would be knocking my Guardian here down to a 5. And my other one wouldn't, the actual other damage would go through on the opposite side here for the summoner, down to a 3. There's quite a bit of math. There's quite a bit of things to keep track of. The math is easy, but the amount of stuff here is interesting. So now we've got all that sorted out, and now we're going to go ahead and resolve our attacks back here. So of course I'm going to go ahead with the phase beast. I guess we'll have the phase beast do 2 damage, so bang, drops it to 7. Then we're going to go ahead and have the phantom strike happen, or not the phantom strike, but the summoning, or the invocation, sorry, for like 9 damage being shot off here. Now I have a hex die showing here, and I don't know, am I supposed to be rolling a hex die? I'm not sure why that's there. Oh no, that may be part of something else. Let's see here. No. Oh, that's just saying that that's at rank 5. The summoner may choose which action or someone takes. So you put the die there. They put the die there to say like you can, you get to choose. Okay, and then so anyway, 9 damage on this is going to put it to -2. So it's definitely dead. And then over here we didn't use any attacks. So we killed off the bandits, which is fantastic. One last thing I want to do is make sure that we adjust our energy levels. So of course, when we spent our last abilities here, that's dropped us down to 0 energy. So we are very, very, very tired. And we're going to come over here and we're going to drop our summoner down to 0 energy as well. Wow, we barely got out of that one with 3 and 0 and 5 and 0. I think if we went for another round of this, it would have gone south, but we are very early on in the game. So anyway, I'm going to move this whole battle mat out of the way, and we'll clean this up in between shots here, but let's focus mainly on what happens here between these 2 cards now. We only chose to go 1 layer deep and help out in the invasion so far, so we killed a whole bunch of bandits. It says you may choose to fight more than 1 instance of the encounter in 1 battle. If you do, you'll receive a power-up card for each instance. So we're going to get a power-up card for each instance, which is awesome. If you defeat them, you'll save the town and also receive double the encounter reward. The encounter reward is this right here. So as a group, we're going to gain 8 gold each and 2 food, which is fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and bump up our food rating. So it's going to go up from 6 to 8. Again, this is the worst pen right now as it's failing me in the moments that I need it. So 8 to a 10. There we go. And then, of course, our gold is going to be doubled, so it's 8. So we're going to have 12 gold now in here. Actually, what I might need to do is I might need to wipe this away and grab another pen immediately before this thing just dies completely on me. And then over here, we just get a straight 8 because I don't have any to begin with. There we go, but that's really good. That's going to help us out a lot. And then on top of this, again, it says if you do, so you're receiving a power-up card for each instance. So let's go ahead and pull our power-up card. Aha, but not so fast, because quest cards are not turned in the wilderness when we are not on a city tile. But look at this, our quest happened to be on a city tile. What fortunate luck that is. So because we're technically at a city tile, we do get to actually turn in our power card, or to gain a power card, and that's fantastic, because normally we would probably complete a quest out here and have to run around. So we're technically at a city right now, which is awesome. So let's go ahead here and actually complete our quest. Now, normally when we complete a quest, we'd flip it over like this, and we try to get back to a city, but we actually are at a city. So we're going to go ahead and just resolve this now to make life easy for everybody watching. We're going to get power cards. So I'm going to take a power card for the Guardian, a power card for the Summoner. We're going to find out what we get. Holy, that's a good one. So the Guardian just got to jump up on a bunch of different skills. Actually, we get one across the board on all the bottom skills. That's fantastic. Cannot wait to bump those up. And then the second one here for the Summoner is a +2 attack. Not bad. So now the Phantom Strike ability will be at 4. That's even better. That was really good. I don't think there's anything else here between these two cards that we need to deal with. So we're just going to go ahead and throw them away for the moment, or discard them. Now we're going to go ahead and, because we are done this particular phase, which essentially landed in the, well, I guess this would basically have been a quest. So the next thing that would happen would be the Dead King, before we would go any further. Let's see here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replenish the quest area here and the circumstance area up here, so we have all our cards in place. This is an aid quest on H. We don't have H in play. Circumstance deck needs 2 more. So Plague Beast goes up top. And what else? A Pleasant Weather, unavoidable. So what does this happen? This is going to be something we're going to have to talk about, because this comes into play almost right away. So I'm going to leave this one to the side. We'll talk about this in a second, because it's the first time you guys are seeing that. The Phase Beast is gone, no longer here. Of course, was only there for combat. So this is one that also gets let go. And of course, we're going to need to erase all of the mention of that Phase Beast here. So that's been all taken out. There we go. Of course, I need to get a new marker going into the next round. We're going to have to update our stats for both of our characters here for being on a city space. And what we're going to do now is we're going to resolve the Dead King's actions. Now, the Dead King, last time we resolved the action for the Dead King, which is the final thing to do at the end of the game turn, is if we rolled a hex, he would reveal himself in the land. We didn't get a hex. This time when we roll for the Dead King, a hex will bring him out, or a 5 is going to bring him out. So let's go ahead and see what happens. A 3. So we're okay. We're still safe. Dead King does not come into play. All right, a couple of last minute things that we need to clear up before we finish the game round officially. Now, already we know that we've rolled for the Dead King, and we know the Dead King will not come out as of this game turn number 2. Now, the one thing I want to make note of, though, is that we're not technically done our full player turn yet. And that's because we have actually finished a quest, which we've already resolved and removed from this roll by giving ourselves our power cards from the deck and completing the quest, because we're on a city tile. So the token, of course, has to be removed and go back to the pile. And just like that, we've resolved that quest. Now, normally that quest, as I mentioned earlier, will be flipped over and we wait till we get back to a city. But when you happen to be on a city, especially one that's invaded, because that's what the previous quest card was all about, was an invasion. When you get those cards, you have to deal with the invasion, which we did first, before you can go into the city and potentially do anything in the city for market items and things like that. So now that we're technically done this, we are in the city, and during the event phase, we can technically go into the city and heal up and spend money on different items in the market and things like that. So we're going to do that before we end this video, and we already know we kind of went ahead of things and we did the Dead King's roll, which would technically happen after the event phase, so just bear with me on that. We have a few things I want to correct as well. Down here on the battlement, I wiped away all the calculations we did during our nice battle, and at the very bottom here it says +1 gold after battle for easy. So I'm going to be giving an extra gold to each of my heroes because of the increase in difficulty. So up to 13 there, and then an extra one here for 9. So that's fantastic. Some extra golds. We've resolved that. I'll take this battle mat out of the way. I've also gone ahead and actually upped all the skills here for the Guardian. So Clarissa now has 4 here in Navigate, 2 in Explore, and 3 in Survival. Coming over to the Summoner, a bonus of +2 attack, took from a 2 to a 4 for Phantom Strike, and everything else sits and remains the same. So that's going to resolve all of that. We also have what's here from the Circumstance replenishing. When we actually replenished that, we got a Pleasant Weather card. Now this card, we'll read this right now so you guys understand what this does to the game world, but it's an unavoidable nature card. It's the weather's comfortable and you're moving easier because of it. This card supersedes other ongoing nature circumstances. So in other words, other circumstances can come into the gameplay and then supersede this one. The group gains a -2 bonus, and that sounds like a bad thing, but it's really a great thing because obviously low numbers are better, to navigate rolls during the skill phase. So in other words, when we're doing our navigate roll, depending on how we choose to move in future game turns, it's going to be easier to avoid not wandering, if that makes a lot of sense. So essentially, we're not going to have we're going to have an easier time getting nailing that navigate roll, which currently our Guardian's actually really good at now, being that we're at a total of 4 or under in order to succeed. We have a -2, so in other words, a 6 would even be a success. And this whole card, this Pleasant Weather card, is in for 4 game turns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this thing right back up here in the Circumstance roll, but I'm going to put a hex die of 4 on it so we remember to tick this thing down as the rounds go down. Because once the 4th round goes past, this is going to disappear and it won't no longer be Pleasant Weather. Of course, if other weather comes into play, that could change things as well. So at this particular time, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look real quick at the city reference sheet, because I want to see all the things we can do in the city, especially now. We've already gone through a city phase at the beginning of the game, at the beginning of this video, but now that we're so badly injured from our last one and we have low health and low energy, what can we do to deal with that? So it says the group may choose to pay 1 gold total to heal all lost health and energy while in the city. So let's do that. 1 gold total. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it come off of my Guardian, because my Guardian has 12 and my Summoner has less. So the Guardian's going to give up that 1, and now everyone is going to heal back up. This is going to be their vitals going fully healed again, so we can go at it to the next adventure, whatever that may be. So we're going 8 and 8, and then we're going to come over here to the Summoner, who has 3 and 0. The closest by far to being knocked out, and we're going to be going back to a 7 and a 7. All right, so that's awesome. The other thing here is heroes can obviously purchase gear upgrades. So this is where we can spend some of our gold. We have 9 gold here for the Summoner, and I have 12 for the Guardian. There was a number of things here that I really, really wanted, but the first thing we should check is what city we're in and what benefit could potentially become of this. Now, you might be sitting there going, can you do a city event after doing an actual quest? And yes, you can. If your quest is on top of a city, you must resolve that quest first. Then you have access to do anything in the city you want. Then the Dead King would go. So in this case, we are currently on city number 5. City number 5 is this one right here, which I'm not going to try to pronounce. It's the Iron Citadel. So we knew that because this is where all the dwarves were. It says ruled by brothers Thurden and Dorden. These dwarves are accomplished animal trainers. The rams and horses they breed are second to none. You may purchase reliable mounts for 4 gold per hero here. Reliable mounts are amazing, and I'm going to show you guys how good they are by just quickly going over here. So you can see right here, reliable mounts, 6 per hero normally. It increases the group's movement rate by 1 hex per turn, which is nice. Includes moving cautiously, so that's really cool, because normally when you move cautiously, you only get to go 1 hex. So this will allow me to go 2, or to travel along a road for my full movement of 4, so now I could go 5. And it's only available, only 1 available per game. Interesting. Okay, so that makes sense, because obviously we're one party. So each hero has to pay that amount. I think this would be a good time to do it, seeing as we're here, and the cost is 4 gold per hero. I think we need to do this. I think it'd be silly of us not to. So we're going to go ahead and take the reliable mounts. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and get the reliable mount done. So this is going to give an X right here. Perfect. So we have climbing gear and a reliable mount now. And next up, we're going to obviously remove 4 gold. So I'm going to be going from 12 gold down to 8. And then over here from 9 gold down to 5. Okay, now what else can we get here? Because there's other things like camping gear. It's really good. And this camping gear says heals 1 health and energy before the movement phase of each game turn. I really wanted this last time. And this is something that's really cool if you're stuck out in the wild and not near a city. So this could be a really good one. So the camping gear again heals 1 health, 1 energy before the movement phase of each game turn. This item only affects 1 hero, may be purchased once per hero. So each hero can buy this. It's camping gear and has to be stored as in the backpack, basically, or in here. It doesn't show up here as because everyone's buying it individually and things like that. Well, regardless, actually, some of the other ones are too, but it's not on the tracker of the battle mat. So we'll be putting it in the backpack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy that. That is a cost of 4, and to me that's worth it. So that's going to drop me to 4 gold there. I'm going to say camp, and I'm going to write this out much better later on. I'm just going to scratch that in for now. And then over here I'm going to go camp gear. Okay, and then we're going to drop this from 4 to 1. Okay, so that's decent. And then I think with the 4 gold we have over here and the 1 for the summoner, I'm trying to think what we want to maybe do. Now 4 gold's not bad. That might actually get me an upgrade on one of my stats. What would be a stat that would be nice to get an increase on? I could even do one of these ones down here, the Navigate Explore ones, or I could do something in terms of fighting might not be bad. Actually, that's probably a good idea. Maybe I should bump up my cleave. I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to knock up my cleave ability by 1. I want to go get this thing to 3. So we're gonna pay 4 gold right now, and we're gonna knock up the Guardian's ability, which is now gonna go to 3. This is gonna basically spend all of the Guardian's money now, but hey, we got a 3 there. So we'll go ahead and wash away all of the gold we no longer have. Then we're gonna come over here to the Summoner, who only has 1, which is really not that much. I might actually just keep that gold because I don't really need much of anything right now, per se. We've got all the rations we need food-wise. I think we're okay there. We could get another luck stone, I guess. Is there anything else for 1? Potions, heals 3 health and 3 energy. You know what? The summoner seemed to get hit pretty hard. Let's buy the summoner a potion. That can't hurt. So we're going to grab 1 potion for the summoner. Just to, it's never hurts to have it, just in case we get into a sticky situation. And again, all money is out of question, gone. Okay, so that's going to basically wrap up the market phase. So that's pretty crazy. So of course these cards here are out of play now because they were power cards, and we've already adjusted our abilities. So we're going to take these, throw them away. And just like that, we've dealt with the whole market phase. We've already, as I mentioned a couple times now, done the Dead King's turn. So that is going to be the official end of the second round or second game turn of HEXplore It, the Valley of the Dead King. So hopefully you guys are really enjoying this. I'm having fun so far. I mean, I've survived the first real big battle. We were able to save a city which was being invaded and stuff like that by bandits. We were able to fight them off, and then the dwarves are happy with us. We got some money. We spent a bunch of money, and now we're a little bit more ready to go here. We've got a couple quests we can look at in terms of a bounty that could be cool, or some aid that's still in this vicinity here. And really, that bounty is very close, so that's very, very tempting. Whew, except it's on a big boss. We might have to have some fun with that. But anyway, hope you guys are enjoying this. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of HEXplore It. As always, keep on rolling solo.